Good morning and welcome to our May 2nd Board of Commissioners meeting. Mr. Mayor, you got the invocation and the pledge this morning. Thank you, Lord.
Let us pray. God, we're thankful that we have the privilege to come and together today to conduct the business of Wayne County. We ask, Father, that as we make those decisions, that we certainly let faith have a part in our decision-making today. Father, we're grateful for those that serve our country. We're thankful for those that keep us safe as individuals here in this county. We thank you for those that are keeping our country safe from across the seas. Father, as we look into the business of this county, we ask that you continue to bless this county with your bountiful blessings. These things I ask in your name. Amen. Amen. Let's stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Mayo. I trust all the commissioners had the opportunity to read the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
We have a motion on the floor to approve the minutes. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Any adjustments, Mr. Wood, to the agenda?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Any adjustments from the commissioners? I'll entertain a motion to accept the agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion on the floor. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Okay, we have information technology special recognition, and who's going to do it? Brian, you going to be coming up?
Morning. How you guys doing?
Morning.
I want to take a moment, probably have these guys sit up here, it'd probably be easier to flip around so everybody can see us. I want to take a minute to recognize a couple individuals who've done some outstanding work over the last few months, year. If we could take a minute to do that. Alex, get your three IT guys that can come up here. Certainly appreciate it. They thought they were here for a project update, so they're a little surprised. They were a little nervous about what we were presenting, so they were trying to do their homework beforehand. I know Mr. Cowell was. And while she does that real quick, turn around for the audience.
They kind of look like the Mario Brothers.
You want your phone updated?
So real quick to talk about Austin doing that, in all my 10 months I've been here, these three have really made a difference in helping me transition in this role, giving me some historical data to help make decisions, and just tackling each and every project we come across over, like I said, my 10 months I've been here. It's been great just to watch and just be a part of and have my name attached to. First, we're gonna do some recognition. We'll do Mr. Chris Stone first. Chris, as many of you know, we've been going through a major upgrade of our virtualization platform to spare you the blow-by-blow. What we've done is we've gone from a legacy system to a much improved state-of-the-art system that will carry us into the future and will make a huge difference going forward and set us up for success long-term. During that time, Chris has worked for at least 18 months. Planning and working through that. Just Chris has been working through just planning the entire thing. Budgeting. Do I need this? Can you hear me now? Okay. Maybe it is. But anyway, Chris has been working for this for the last 18 or so months and planning it, designing it. He actually found some faults in the statement of work that the vendors gave us, proved that the solution wouldn't work, and went back and they got back together and worked it out to where we could make it work, and came up with a solution. And during this whole process, architect a design that would seamless to the users and would allow them to continue to work, and it's been pretty transparent to users, I would say. And he's worked literally day and night to get this done. And I think we're to a point where we're done. And yeah, right. We're at 98%. But I just wanted to let him know that his work wasn't lost on me. I understand we've been insane one project after another. But I wanted to say thank you, and I'll read the award here real quick. This is really weird. The word is, the County of Wayne would like to recognize your hard work and dedication to the improvement and innovation of the county's IT network infrastructure. It is the high standard and attention to detail that our county leadership and management team have come to appreciate with each and every project you oversee. I do want to say, I forgot to mention the number. After all was said and done, he saved the county over $200,000 on this project alone. All right, next I want to recognize Chris Cowan. He has been a part of this project as well, working hand in hand with Chris Stone and Giorgio on this, again, day and night, helping to find a solution that will work for everyone. And in the same time, working on the new jail that we set up, he's been basically the project manager for all of the IT portion of that, and has seen that to fruition recently. But I just wanted to recognize his efforts with Chris Stone and Giorgio to get that done, and I appreciate all your hard work. Let me read your thing here. The County of Wayne would like to recognize your hard work and dedication to the improvement and innovation of the county's IT network infrastructure. Your county leadership and management team appreciate your forward-thinking ideas and innovation. We could have just played that off, right? I guess. Last but not least, Mr. Giorgio Christoph, again, working day and night with these guys to get this solution worked out with the vendors. I know there were some nights I went home and they'd call me at 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and I'm like, man, you guys are still there working on this? I can't believe all the hard work they put into this. And then working towards making sure that our county employees don't see any downtime or any degradation in services. And I appreciate all he's done, and I just wanted to recognize him as well. And I'll read yours, it's the same as Chris's, but the County of Wayne would like to recognize your hard work and dedication to the improvement and innovation of the county's IT network infrastructure. Your county leadership and management team appreciate your forward-thinking ideas and innovation. This is a great team. They've worked really hard on this project. We have a lot of fiber loop, MRAC, 911, and these guys will be behind the scenes doing a lot of that work. So if we give them one last round of applause, I appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, go back to work. And I really would like to thank those guys. They have saved us a lot of money. They've done some great work for us.
Yeah, and as Ryan said too, they're hard at work on at least 3 other projects. They're finishing the fiber loop project, preparing for the 911. They'll do the project there, and also all of the MRAC, and that's a big IT project at MRAC.
Yeah, it is. Okay, let's move on to the public comment period. You got 4 minutes to come up and give your name and address and phone number, and the floor is open. Anybody out there? Well, good. We must be doing everything right, and I appreciate it. It's closed. Okay, appointment committee.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we met this morning, have 2 appointments. First, we'd like to recommend the appointment of Jerry Langston to the Grantham Fire Department as a fire commissioner. I'd like to put this in form of a motion.
We got a motion on the floor. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand.
And our next one is we'd like to recommend the appointment of Gail Jones to the Commissioners Council for Older Adults. And I'd like to put this in form of a motion.
Have a motion on the floor. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Yeah, thank you. All right, let's move on. Mr. Wood, unfinished business, alternative recovery group.
Yeah, as far as the Year on the Road project. Oh, unfinished business, excuse me. Yeah, the long-term recovery group, we have Mr. Ray Urban here today to address you, and I think he's brought some folks with him.
Well, Barbara Stiles is
Barbara
actually.
Stiles is gonna do it? Okay. Very good.
Ray had a family emergency that kind of got in the way, so he just showed up this morning. We're really glad to see him and see that his family's doing well. That was kind of scary. So I'm Barbara Stiles. I'm the volunteer chair for long-term disaster recovery. And you may remember I was here about a month ago talking about, giving you an update about what we were doing. But today we have Ray Urban, who's our finance chair, also a volunteer. Chip McGirt, who's with NC Baptist Men, North Carolina Baptist Men, who's doing work here, rebuilding homes after Hurricane Matthew. And also Dustin Bannister, who's with United Way as their Strategic Initiatives Director. And if you have any questions for them, they'll be happy to answer for those later. We're here today as a result of a meeting that George Wood convened with emergency management personnel. Chip Crumpler and Nicole Simpson Carter and Craig Brown and I'm trying to think who else was there, Scott Stevens from the city, so we could give them an update of what long-term disaster recovery was doing for Hurricane Matthew survivors here in Wayne County. And after that meeting, it was determined that we needed some funds and the county might be willing to help, so that's why we're here today. We actually were here on our last visit to let you know that we did need those funds, let you know what was going on, and after that visit, we were asked to provide some more information. And specifically, you had 3 questions. One was, how will the money be used? And we had specifically asked for $15,000. What are our other sources of income? And the third question was, could we provide a synopsis of Hurricane Floyd in an aftermath of Hurricane Floyd, what had been accomplished and what had happened in the interim since 2002. So this is a really quick slideshow for you. We'll go through it real quickly for you, but just wanted to have some of these in structure that you could look at. But before we get to that, I did want to say one thing that really stands out between Hurricane Matthew, and I know Joe Gurley is probably aware of this as well. After Hurricane Matthew, the faith-based community just responded beautifully. They started sending us money. We got our bylaws done. We formed our committees. We had our executive folks in place. And we were able to hire a director almost immediately because the faith-based community responded. And checks just came in for 2 years. And we were able to buy resources for the families, pay staff, and meet all the needs that were provided here by our organization for the 2-year period. Once the needs wound down, the money was gone. It just worked out perfectly. But what's different here in 2017, that the nature of the disasters that are occurring are of epic nature. And anybody that's been watching the news, when we met with the Catholic Charities folks in March, they came here to do some casework training for us. They let us know that at that moment in time, and this was in March, Ray, when they came to visit us, there were 32 declared national disasters at that time, and they said there was probably another one going to be declared that day. And since March, you can just think of all the tornadoes and things that we've seen, even this weekend, and the mudslides in California. And what that not only impacts our federal and our state resources, but it impacts the faith community as well. And so the money is just not coming in. So unfortunately, we've been able to train volunteer caseworkers, but we have no staff. We've been able to write a few grants and get some money coming in, but we really need the $15,000 we're asking for from the county commissioners in order to get staff there 5 days a week, full-time, in the offices that have been provided at no charge for the Salvation Army. And the grants that we are now writing are asking for a community match. So it's really important that we do get that match from our own community. So just a really quick overview. A long-term recovery group is local. It is working with partners that are faith-based, community-based, governmental, and anyone basically that can bring either money, materials, or manpower. And Chip is here representing the faith-based community that's bringing teams that are highly skilled and willing to work for free. They're just looking for a place to stay. So one of the things that long-term recovery groups do is raise the resources to buy the materials, but also provide lodging for these teams that come in. So we desperately need a director and administrative assistant to get this work going. And long-term recovery is needed when the personal resources, the insurance, the FEMA money, it runs out. There's still unmet needs, unfortunately. And again, here in Wayne County, we have the special challenges of a lot of our folks aren't as literate as they should be, don't know how to negotiate their own recovery. So our case managers will work with them specifically to get that going. We have in place very quickly the operating committees that will get this work done, and our partners you can see there, a lot of them bring funding. The Salvation Army has been writing grants. Catholic Charities is providing $20,000 that will be towards our Unmet Needs Committee. And we are currently writing a United Way, what's called a United Way grant, but it really is through the Governor's Fund for $100,000. There's a quick turnaround on that, and we have been specifically invited to write this grant for Wayne County. So we're very sure that we're going to get that funding, but we need a director in order to operate that. So the process is basically, we have case managers, they're not case workers, they stay with the clients through the whole process, even to the extent that the mental association, mental health professionals will be called in to work with the families if needed, and any needs that are there beyond just their monetary needs, they'll be connected with Literacy Connection if they need help in learning how to manage their finances. So that's what our case managers do. But again, we need paid staff to make sure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, and make sure the resources are used appropriately. Next slide, please. So as you'll see under the TBD, that's hopefully our county managers that will, County Board of Commissioners that will approve that funding. It's just about $15,000. We already have some money approved through United Way and some awarded, and some other money pending, and that National Emergency Grant Employment will essentially go to our administrative assistant that will cover them, and the small amount of benefits that they will get. It's a part-time position, so it's not as expensive as a full-time director. And just so you know, the full-time director is based on talking to the guru for North Carolina nonprofit management, Judy Hills. They had just hired a mental health professional in, I think it was Carteret County, for $42,000, and we intend to hire someone for $39,000 plus benefits of about $9,000. And just a quick review of Hurricane Floyd. And with that endeavor, we were able to get about over 800 volunteers to come to Wayne County, use their carpentry skills and other skills to rebuild homes. But other resources were provided as well as buying heating and air, appliances, over a 2-year period. And the value to North Carolina, or at least to Wayne County, was over $1 million. And so basically we're really looking for that director so we can really launch our effort. We've got offices, we've got computers, we just need people, paid people that can do the job. And anything you want to add, folks, on United Way? If you have any questions for us, we'd be glad to entertain any questions you might have.
Questions?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
I wanted to ask, I was looking through your presentation. Faith-based, do you, I see you had some grants from the Presbyterian grant, but do you work with like Methodist men and Baptist men of North Carolina? Are you affiliated with those groups in order to come together to
absolutely
for resources and so forth?
Absolutely. In fact, the Baptist men not only bring volunteers, but they will provide, I should let Chip answer this, I think it's about $2,000 per family.
We initially started, we have 4 or 5 recovery rebuild sites in North Carolina right now. And starting in October, we had 13 recovery sites. I was down here from like the second week of October through Christmas, tearing out what was damaged. So this was going on at 13 different locations across eastern North Carolina. We doing what's called rebuild is a much bigger animal, as you can imagine, because we're actually purchasing materials and going in and rebuilding the houses. It doesn't really cost much to go in and tear it out because you've got free labor. We're going in, we're installing floors, we're installing insulation, drywall, HVAC units, we're putting in kitchen cabinets, painting, doing all that. I mean, just a basic HVAC unit is like $4,000 or $5,000, as you can imagine. We are very involved here with our rebuild effort in Wayne County. I'm down here, I live in Raleigh, but I'm down here 6 days a week, living at a church. And we have volunteer teams coming in. I have a team right now working right down off of Grantham Road, rebuilding a double-wide mobile home. I'll have another team, a team plus another individual coming in tomorrow for several days. I'll have teams coming in on the weekend, and this will go on until we're completed with what we've been requested to do. I have a number of houses that are ongoing repair right now. North Carolina Baptist Men will give me, if I requested, a grant. Initially it started out up to $2,000 per family. I'm actually getting more than that now, depending upon the situation. I'm working very closely with this LTARG group. I haven't been involved in one before, but it's amazing what's happening through this group. I've partnered with the United Way. They've actually already provided money. All I need to do is provide them receipts and records of I'm spending this on building materials. And as you know, the check's already been deposited into our account, so we're doing that. I'm getting other money from the Episcopal Diocese, and there'll probably be money that will be coming through the LTRG group from other organizations to actually build back some of these houses. Some houses I can buy materials and get by with $6,000. Some houses it's much greater than that. God's providing some amazing things. I can tell you a story I was telling Justin just earlier this morning. I got a text from a buddy who works at the Lowe's in Raleigh that I do a lot of business with in Raleigh through our handyman ministry, saying, do you need any kitchen cabinets? And I said, absolutely. I've got 4 houses right now. I'm kind of planning how to put these cabinets in. If you will come and dismantle all of our kitchen displays in the Lowe's there, you can have the cabinets at less than 5% of the cost. Much higher quality cabinets than I'm able to afford to put in there. One set of cabinets was $37,000 retail. I paid $450 for it. That's a God thing. And I got 7 sets of cabinets just last Thursday, and I have them waiting to go in houses as we're getting the drywall finished. So we're spending money. We're spending it very wisely. I'm actually spending money sometimes when I'm not sure where it's coming from, but it always appears. I've had people walk up to me and give me a $100 bills. Can you use this? Absolutely, I can use it this afternoon. So, plus the organization. So that's kind of how we're working.
I like to ask, how do you determine which families, which houses, and the second part of that is, if the insurance company if they don't have insurance, or is that how it's determined, or if the insurance company doesn't afford enough to get the house, how is the final determination made about who gets what?
Most families, and when I say most, over 90% had no flood insurance. It's illegal to sell flood insurance to someone who is not in a designated flood zone. So many of the houses that we tore out, and I'm saying 90% out of, I think I had 76 or 77 houses that I worked on last fall. 90-some% did not have any type of insurance. Okay, if you're in a flood zone, you just can't afford it in a lot of cases.
So the $72,000, if I'm following you correctly, that you all are looking for, is to pay for someone, to pay for a director and assistant to go out to be the point man, point people, find these things.
Carol, if you could back that up, slide. One more. The way the process works with the long-term disaster recovery group is we have case managers. As Barbara said, there was training, and there are 10 case managers, volunteers in Wayne County. They haven't been put to work yet because the Red Cross hasn't completed their background check. The case manager will go out, will visit with the individual, they'll gather their information, they'll bring it back to what is known as the Unmet Needs Committee. And that committee is comprised of faith-based organizations, well, anybody that has money, material, or manpower and is willing to contribute to that need. It's anonymous.
case manager brings it back to the unmet needs committee. Unmet needs committee doesn't know who the person is, because it might be your cousin, and, you know, we don't want people, you know. And then the members of that committee will decide whether to help that person or not. And so if it's Catholic Charities, they might say, well, we can contribute $1,000 to the roof, if that's what they need, or some other organization. The long-term recovery group has funds of our own, which have been donated to us. We could contribute those. CHIP's work is all volunteer, is that correct?
Right. We basically are labor-free, and we do not turn down anyone. If they need help, then it's actually, I guess, my responsibility to determine best how to help them. In some cases, the cost of rebuild is much greater than the actual value of the home, tax value of the home. And so that's the situation where I'm coming to the LTRG and say, can we get a case manager, help work with this person, help them understand, you know, we can't rebuild this home for $30,000 when the actual tax value is $25,000 or even $40,000. We don't want to put another $30,000 in it. So that's when we're bringing in the caseworkers to help them navigate through with FEMA, where there may be some money coming in, and some other organizations that can help them. But back to your original question, where the money, how we're coming up with money. I'm getting it at least $2,000, $3,000, and sometimes greater than that $1,000 for individuals from the Baptist State Convention. I'm also using some United Way money. I'm also using some Episcopal money as I need it. And so there will be other situations where I may call Barbara and say, is there any organization in the LTRG that may have some additional money? I've already tapped Dustin for everything I can. I've tapped what we've gotten out of Baptist State Convention. So, but, you know, as far as who we help out, is pretty much, we're gonna help anyone that needs the help. Sometimes I have to make decisions based on, and these are difficult. Was this pre-storm neglect, lack of maintenance, or was this flood and hurricane damage? And sometimes the people don't quite understand the difference, but we, you know, and I've told people before, my marching orders are to repair houses that were damaged due to the storm. If I've got volunteer teams that are coming down here and I don't have work for them, and yours is lack of maintenance, we'll do it. But we have to prioritize the storm-related issues.
And the long-term recovery group has a priority schedule as well. So we try and help.
We only work with disaster.
Yeah, we only work with victims of Hurricane Matthew. If we could see the data slide, that slide. We estimate that to hire a director, a full-time director and a part-time assistant with benefits and everything would be $72,000. We've already gotten a $10,000 grant from United Way and $7,500 from two other organizations. We've got a grant that has been written and is pending with the Presbyterians, and then we're hoping to get some funds from the National Emergency Grant Employment Program. Right now their funds are frozen. So we hope to have that money to, at least before we hire a director, we'd like to have a year's worth of salary for that person, so we can put them in place, and then their job will be to manage the day-to-day operations, to coordinate the volunteers like Chip, to write additional grants, try to get us additional funds, manage the case managers, make sure they're seeing the people that are contacting the long-term recovery group asking for help. Coordinate the teams that are coming. We have two individuals from United Church of Christ that are coming here. One of them's an engineer. Both of them are engineers that are coming here to work with us, paying their own way. It's kind of amazing how many people that have absolutely no connection to Wayne County that are willing to come here and help because they understand how great the problem was. There were, I'm sure you know this statistic, over 6,700 registrants with FEMA, About 3,200 of them failed the income test, meaning they were not eligible for a small business loan. I'm sure everybody understands they're not getting a loan for a business, it's just through the Small Business Administration.
I have a two-part question, Mr. Chairman. Number one is that your donations, do you present this program to different churches in the area? Do you go to speak at different churches?
Well, we haven't.
Once we get a director, we'll have someone who can do that.
Yeah, we haven't done that yet, but the group was originally formed, we mentioned the VOAD at the beginning, the Voluntary Organizations Assisting in Disaster. The local VOAD representative began to bring this group together in early November. We've been working for 6 months. And we've got, I don't know who all, some of the organizations, there you go. Of course, United Way, Salvation Army, Catholic Charities, Episcopal Organization, United Church of Christ, St. Vincent de Paul, Baptist Men, Wayne Community College, and other church organizations or community-based organizations are welcome to join. We're completely transparent, and there really is no restriction. Just anyone willing to come and help and give their input and recommendations, and so I can't say that we've really had a strong reach-out effort other than just word of mouth, letting people know this long-term recovery group has been formed, and we're working to try and get going. The disappointing thing is we haven't really helped the first person. Chip has helped a lot of people through his organization, and he is a member of the long-term recovery group. I'm involved with St. Vincent de Paul. We've helped some people through St. Vincent de Paul that were hurricane victims, but it really wasn't through the long-term recovery group. So what we're trying to do is get the long-term recovery group stood up, and we need somebody, a paid person, not all the volunteers, a paid person to get that done. And we'd like to have at least a year's salary, so when whoever we hire, we can tell them we've got funding for your salary for an entire year.
Okay. Second, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to get some comments from Dustin from the United Way.
Sure.
Could you say a few words as
Sure.
far as what this organization means to and the help United Way is doing?
So basically right now you have a ship full of volunteers. People have roles. We have no captain. We have pledged towards a captain. We do not have that captain simply because we do not have enough to pledge towards that captain. United Way has seen the importance in this organization because it brings together and it helps to minimize duplication. We all know how easily duplication can probably happen when somebody takes advantage of a situation like this right here. And so a long-term recovery group like this right here with a director can help minimize duplication. We've seen an interest in that as well as in the personal organizations, and so we've pledged X amount of dollars towards this position looking for matching funds. We have a finite amount of money, and if we pledged all of it towards a position and didn't get there, it would do no good with that money. So that is United Way's stake in it, is that we're trying to get a captain for this ship. It's full of great volunteers. There's protocols in place. There's documentation in place. The ship's ready to go. It just doesn't have anybody to drive it.
Thank you. Mr. Sheriff.
Yes.
Question. Is this a one-time request or is it a recurring request?
Would you like me to answer that one for you while I'm up here? The request is starting as one time. We don't know the extent of how long this will go for. As we've got Floyd numbers in 99, we know that it took at least 2 years to get this done. It could take 2 years, it could take 3 years, it could take 18 months. So it would start as a one-time request with hope being that other organizations, as they come in, would also see the need in this and would be able to find those matching funds from other places too. It could potentially turn into a reoccurring request 12 months from now if we look at this and say, we don't have any other funds to keep it going. We'd then have to be able to prove back to the commissioners that what we're doing is worth it.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to follow up on what Mr. Doherty just said. This is outside funding request for the next fiscal year. So, we have to look at this very closely. all outside funding is very, all of the projects, all of the organizations are worthy and do an outstanding job.
Certainly.
But then again, we do have to, I mean, you know, that's a whole lot of requests, but, and you know, we just got to make sure our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed.
Certainly, and I would ask this back, how many of those requests do you have that are willing to bring together a dozen, 2 dozen volunteer organizations that could potentially tribute millions of dollars back into the county? And I'm not saying that they don't. This potential opportunity
Right.
would grant us the ability to move forward with what we've already got and have a big return on that investment.
I didn't say no, I just wanted y'all to
Sure,
know,
no,
I just
and I
wanted
hear
y'all to
that.
know what we're already up against.
Just think about when you're buying a roof and you get a quote and it's $10,000, you're gonna pay that $10,000. But if we are working on a roof, it's gonna cost $5,000 because you've got that volunteer labor. So the value to the county is, it's just immeasurable. And then another point is that we're working to watch the duplication. We actually have, versus 1999, when there was a story that Salvation Army will tell you, different staff was here at the time, but we did not have the capacity, they did not have the capacity to collect the data that we do today with all the technology we have. And so there was one particular gentleman that visited them 7 times, filled up his truck 7 times with furniture. And he would check to see which staff was there, if they would recognize him or not. And they didn't realize what was going on until they started seeing that furniture down in thrift stores down on Center Street. So now we have, through the American Red Cross, at no charge to us, the Coordinated Assistance Network. And it's a system where we can take, John Smith and every organization, Habitat for Humanity, that gives them food voucher, or furniture vouchers, can all enter that information into this data collection system. And once that, I'm cleared, which I am, or our organization gets those clearances and those passwords, and those people have their background checks, they have access to that information. And not only can we see who's been here in Wayne County, but we can see if John Smith went over to Johnson, who are the frequent flyers, and how we can minimize that. Not only do we save our resources, but other organizations in other counties. So we have some great technology nowadays that we did not have in the past. So it's really helpful. And for instance, talking to Matt Whittle at the Habitat, he said, well, we've done all this work, but we don't have time to put it in our computer. We'll do it for you. We've got volunteers. So, we build the capacity of all the agencies that are already in working here in Wayne County.
I've got 4 or 5 questions, and let me preface my questions with that the Long-Term Recovery Group is an amazing group, and you do an awesome job, and you give assistance to a lot of needy people, and I understand that and appreciate and thank you for it. So, Ms. Stiles, just to help me clear up and try to knock some cobwebs out, who was the director that was hired in Floyd?
That was me. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that.
Okay.
So I've been pulled out of retirement. I've been retired for 5, 6 years, and I got the call in December. Actually, they started meeting in November, and they said, do you suppose if we called Barbara Stiles, she might come back? Well, I came back.
And
So,
now who was the administrative assistant?
the administration, we had 2. We had Joy Pierce for a while. We had Donna Murphy, and I'm trying to think. Those were the 2 paid staff, and Lisa Abbott for a short while until her husband was transferred.
Okay. So, in reading the information that was provided us in our agenda packet, I noticed that, if I recall right, North Carolina Emergency Management through the Lutheran Grant is going to supply 49 case managers, 24 case managers, 49
Exactly.
counties, and with the impact on Wayne County, felt like we would probably get 1.
Yes, I
Case
was
manager.
hoping for 2. Rumor had it that we would get 2.
So
And they
how-
just trained all these folks last
I
week.
guess, how is their case manager and your director, and then your volunteer case manager, how is that going to mesh?
I wish I had lots of really good answers for you. We've been working with them since January we heard the grant was in order, was not in place after Floyd. On February 6th, they were supposed to announce, who was the winner of this grant, and we expected, quick results. We heard we're going to get case managers here in Wayne County. We haven't seen one yet, but it should be this week or next week. We should get our first one. And we've actually put an invitation out for them to join us in our office so that we can work real closely together. And one of the reasons our director is getting $39,000 instead of $37,500 is because that disaster case management manager is going to be getting 37.5. We wanted to make sure our director had just a little bit above that. So that case manager will work very closely with our volunteers. This is our vision. We're going to have to see how it really works, but that's our vision.
I was talking to North Carolina Emergency Manager yesterday and was kind of going through this model. And they were not aware of another county following the same path, a model of hiring a director. And they did have LTRGs, they did have inmate needs committees, stuff like that. And they're going to use the state-provided, Lutheran grant-provided case manager. So they didn't see that any other place in the state. So why
Oh, because
yours different?
I don't know who you talked to, but in Robinson, the reason why we don't have our disaster case manager yet is because they've been hitting the hardest hit counties first. So I think in Robinson, they probably have 4 case managers. I don't know how many they have in Cumberland.
No, I think the question that I posed to the individual when they gave it back, they were not aware of another model like Wayne County is going to use, hiring a director, hiring an administrative assistant. Everyone else is just going to rely on what the state EM and Lutheran Grant was providing.
I don't see how they're going to do it because I'm not even sure if the person that we're going to get is going to be solely for Wayne County. They may be working Lenore as well.
No, I'm talking about your person.
Oh, well, the director?
Yeah.
Oh,
See,
okay.
what they're saying is they're not seeing any other models out there like what Wayne County's going to use with hiring a director and administrative assistant.
I don't know who they're talking to because we're actually following Robinson County, or is it Cumberland, that has a Presbyterian grant to hire their director.
Okay.
So, and Lenore, they may not be seeing it because, believe it or not, as slow as we are, which is just driving me nuts, is we're one of the first counties that is ahead of the game. Lenore doesn't have, don't even have their bylaws finished yet. Johnson has just finished their bylaws. So we had a little bit of advantage in that we were already formed in 1999. We just had to revise ours. So you may not be seeing a lot of models out there because they're still forming.
Well, my next question, have y'all approached any municipalities about funding sources also?
Approached?
Municipalities? The cities?
We are getting ready to. We just visited the county first. We're pulling in lots of different directions as volunteers. But, they're next on our list.
Okay, so I have a curious question, looking at your proposed budget. The benefits of $10,000, what is that benefits?
Which one was that?
The benefits for $10,000?
Oh, for, yeah, okay. That includes health insurance, of course, all the payroll taxes and the match for the payroll taxes. And these are estimates we've gotten from HR professionals, so.
Okay, then my last one, trying to remember back to Ms. Stiles and looking back to Floyd.
Right.
The membership of this group is different from the Floyd group. Is there any particular reason?
It just depends on what's available in the community. We actually have a lot more members than it's listed there. We didn't want to fill up 3 slides. So all the usual folks are involved. Red Cross is not listed there. Of course, they're involved. DSS is involved. Emergency management and mental health professionals, Mental Health Association. I don't have my list with me, but basically, and we're open to other folks as well. So, and of course, FEMA has been attending our meetings on a very regular basis. Anything else you can think of that I've forgotten? But more than likely, they are involved. Just haven't been listed right now.
Thank you.
But I'd like to address Joe's question. From the disaster case management request for proposal that the state sent out, the primary objective of the DCMP is to communicate with BOADs, local LTRGs, emergency management, and FEMA to address client unmet needs following Hurricane Matthew. So that's what the Lutheran Disaster Services, they were awarded that contract. And they do have 24 case managers, but the role of the case manager, as we understand it, is to go out and interact with the clients, collect their data, and bring that information back to the Unmet Needs Committee and advocate for that client, and then Unmet Needs Committee decides whether they'll help them or not. I don't see how a case manager can also serve as a director, which is managing the day-to-day operations of the organization. But at our last long-term recovery meeting, there was a representative from Lutheran Disaster Services there. She just came to try and see what we were doing and understand. And she said the program manager had plans to go around and visit with all the LTRGs, and hopefully he'll be at our place in the next couple of weeks, and we'll be able to ask him some of the same questions you're asking, because we're not sure how they plan to manage their business as well, and exactly what they expect a case manager to do. But if a case manager is doing case management, and the paid one would be doing the same thing as a volunteer one, it's just there's only 24 for 49 states, or 49 counties, and I just don't see how they can manage the day-to-day operations of a long-term recovery group after.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
is time of the essence as far as?
We're here as long as y'all are.
Well, my point is that I was going to make a recommendation to the commissioners. We are in the middle of our budget, and I'm going to make a recommendation to the commissioners that we let our county manager, and even as commissioners, if we need to have a discussion or a work session on this, that's what I'm recommending, that we not take action today until the county manager and we have a chance to discuss it and look into it further.
Yeah, I would just say this. My primary objective, Barbara's may have been a little bit different, was really to inform y'all about what's going on with the long-term recovery group. And if the county can help with funding for the permanent director position, that would be great. I think we're gonna plow ahead and do the best we can, one way or the other. But I'll say this, I'm a volunteer. I don't have any constituents. They're all volunteers. They have no constituents. These folks that are coming in from out of county, out of state, from all across the nation, they have no constituents here in Wayne County. So we've got people willing to give the folks in Wayne County money. And we'd appreciate Mr. Aycock's pointing out to us how many requests you get. You know, if we do as well as the previous long-term recovery group did, it's a pretty small amount of money we're talking about. But are we done? We appreciate your time. Thank you. And
Before you leave, because I hadn't asked any questions yet.
oh, okay. Well, we thought we'd be here 6 or 7 minutes, and we know we're taking up a lot of your time, and we're sensitive to that.
Many of the things I was going to ask have been asked, but I really am, having spent so many years in government, there's so much duplication going on. We don't know what dollars that are going to be coming down to do this, and whether it be duplication or not. The governor spoke to us when we met with him the other day, and he's even considered more things to come. So I'm just very hesitant in a way because of that. And I hope you got safeguards there that will prevent the duplication.
Well,
but I don't want us to, one group over here spending money, one over here spending money, doing the same thing.
Yeah, there's kind of 2 buckets of money. Some of these organizations, they give the money to us and it's restricted, meaning it has to be used directly to help victims or clients. And some have given us some money that's unrestricted, meaning we can use it for administrative purposes. The governor's grant that Barbara was talking about that we're requesting $100,000 for, we're writing that grant to be just used for, to help people that are in need.
And it's restricted that way.
Oh, it's restricted that way, yeah. So it's a little bit easier to find funds to help people, victims of the hurricane, than it is to find funds to pay an administrative person. And I guess that makes sense. People want to give money that's going to actually help somebody. They don't want to give money to pay somebody's salary.
You got an example of that in here in our book. I'm gonna see it up here about the Coastal Community Action Grant from NC Works. I believe that is restricted solely to public cleanup.
That's right.
With no admin, because that goes to Coastal Community Action.
Well, we've talked to them, and we can use.
But we don't have anything that needs cleaning up.
Yeah, but for the grant we're talking about, it can be used for a clerical person. So the part-time, we're hoping to use that money to pay the.
Just be sure, I know you know what I'm talking about. Those are restricted grants. You got to make
Right.
sure you spend them right.
Yeah, that's the big challenge, keeping all this straight. Especially when you get it in small chunks. So, and everybody wants to know how the money's spent, so we have to provide a report back to them about not by name, but at least the type of work we did.
Okay, I appreciate you coming up. I think Mr. Mayo's suggestion is the right way to go. Unless the other commissioners disagree, we're going to be part of our process and our budget. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to consent agenda. And we talked about this at length in our earlier meeting at 8 o'clock. So is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Somebody made it down.
John Bell.
John Bell made the motion. I have a motion on the floor. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. That's really bad. Okay, going over to business. Let's talk about the health policy.
Yeah, these are some minor changes. We went over them at the 8 o'clock meeting. There's just 2 minor changes on that the health department's requesting. I think they're pretty straightforward.
Yeah, we covered that as well earlier. Is there any discussion or somebody want to make a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the revision to the health department policy.
Mr. Marty has posted a motion on the floor. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. And Wings Over Wayne events. Okay, we got a Mr. Doug McCrath here for us today. Talk to us about that.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, the good news is I'm not here to ask for money. So we can keep this short. I'm here this morning on behalf of the Goldsboro Elks, which is a benevolent organization that has strong ties to military, veterans causes, academic scholarships, Salvation Army, Red Cross, a couple of things that we just heard in the last presentation, Boys and Girls Club, Humane Society, and drug awareness programs. So we are in the process, actually we're kind of in the final process of the planning for an event to happen downtown Goldsboro. It will take place over Memorial Day weekend. The event will happen on Saturday, May 27th, and the name of the event is Wings of Wayne. So I get that we've caused a little bit of confusion with the air show, but part of the strategy all along was to kind of connect this to the air show and extend the air show by about a week. So the air show occurs the weekend before. Our event will occur on Saturday, May 27th. It is a family-friendly military appreciation festival. Admission to the event is free. The design of the event will be to bring Seymour Johnson and the community together. That will happen in a downtown setting. So the event has had very strong support from the base, and I'll touch on that in a few minutes here. So the event itself will have as kind of the backbone of the event a chicken wing cook-off, hence the name Wings of Wayne. And it will also have live music throughout the day. There will be kids' activities. There will be craft vendors and food vendors. At this point, we've had very strong support, as I mentioned, from the base. We've had strong support from the business community. I believe as of this time, we have 38 sponsors that are supporting the event. We have over 20 food and craft vendors in addition to the cooking teams that will be there. And we've had very strong support from DGDC to help us kind of organize this as a first-year event. So the main event will happen from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m., and that will take place on the empty lot, which is at 207 South Center Street. So prior to the 1 o'clock kickoff of this, most of what my work with the Elks relates to are veterans causes. So that morning, we're also going to take advantage of the opportunity to kind of ride on the coattails of a national program called the Rolling Thunder Motorcycle Rally, which happens in Washington, D.C. We will start at the Veterans Memorial Park here in downtown Goldsboro. We have the Guardian Brotherhood, which is a group of motorcyclists from the Air Force and Army. We have the Bikers for Christ and several other organizations that are coming together. Those groups will convene at Veterans Memorial Park. We'll leave from there. We'll ride to the Kinston Veterans Home. We have an event planned there, really just to visit with the 100 veterans that are shut in there. I don't know if any of you have had the opportunity to go there. It's a beautiful facility, but many of the veterans don't have friends or family. So our heroes are shut in that facility. This gives us an opportunity to reach out to them, go in and just spend some time with them. You know, it's amazing to see what spending 5 or 10 minutes with a person who doesn't get visits will do for them. So while we're there, the Arts Council has agreed to put on a very short duet, which is a really cool commitment they've made. this is the community coming together. So the Arts Council will do a brief duet to entertain the residents there. We have a veteran actually from the coast who is going to arrive there. He has a Kona ice business, which is kind of an upscale shaved ice. He'll serve complimentary beverages to the veterans and any of the motorcyclists that are there. At the point that that group departs to come back and join the main event for our Wings of Wayne event here in Goldsboro, we, through the Elks organization, will underwrite a luncheon so that the veterans kind of have a celebration the rest of the day. So the entertainment that we have here at the main event will be Spare Change and All My Rowdy Friends, two bands that typically draw a very strong following in the Goldsboro area. The design is, if you follow those groups, they have kind of a different following, and that's what we're after here, is to try to bring as many different people to the event as possible. We'll wrap up the events late in the afternoon with awards for the cooking teams and the bragging rights that go along with that. But more importantly, and this was a suggestion from Colonel Sage and Chief Wagner, we'll be presenting the first annual Elks Military Appreciation Awards. So we've worked very closely with them to coordinate the Airman of the Year, Spouse of the Year, and Volunteer of the Year, and we really think that will be kind of the pinnacle of what we're doing for the day. At this point, we have pretty much all the plans in place. We're down to the fine-tuning and really kind of the social media and the promotions blitz to just increase awareness so that we get lots of people at our event that day. We have the privilege of having celebrity judges for the chicken wing cook-off. Right now that includes Chef and the Farmer out of Kinston, Samuel Jones from Sam Jones Barbecue out of Winterville, Colonel Sage from Seymour Johnson, and we're in the works of adding a couple of folks from here in Goldsboro, again, just to kind of bring the local flavor back to the event. So my objective here was just to share with you what it is that we're going to be doing Memorial Day weekend, Saturday, May 27th, and to encourage as much support as we can get for the event. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming and what you guys are doing for our veterans.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Is Emily Peacock here? I thought that might be you. We got a proclamation for Mental Health Month in Wayne County.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Excuse me, I've been sitting here long. Thank you for including us in the agenda. I'm part of the Mental Health Association in Wayne County. We've been here since 1962, a volunteer organization in behalf of those with mental illness and improving the mental situation within our community. And so we appreciate being able to do the proclamation today. I also have with me Bobby Jones, who's part of our board. Whereas mental health is essential to everyone's overall physical health and emotional well-being, and caring for your mind as well as your body is good for your overall health and vital for success in your personal life, at work, and at school. And whereas mental illness will strike nearly 1 in 4 adults and children in a given year, regardless of age, gender, race, ethnicity, religion, or economic status. And whereas mental health problems are as treatable as many physical illnesses, and people who have mental illnesses can recover and lead full, productive lives. And whereas an estimated 2/3 of adults and young people who have mental health disorders are not receiving the help they need, and whereas the cost of untreated and mistreated mental illnesses and addictive disorders to American businesses, governments, and families has grown to $1,100 billion annually, and whereas community-based services that respond to individual and family needs are cost-effective and beneficial to consumers and the community, and whereas the Mental Health Association in Wayne County is engaged in helping people to achieve healthy minds and healthy lives, therefore be resolved that the Wayne County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim May 2013 as Mental Health Month in Wayne County, and calls upon the citizens, government agencies, public and private institutions, businesses, and schools to recognize the importance of mental as well as physical health, and to commit our community to increasing awareness and understanding of mental health and the need for appropriate and accessible services for all people who have mental illness.
Thank you. Is there a motion on the floor to approve the proclamation?
So moved.
Ms. Motion on the floor, any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Thanks so much.
Thank you. I do want to bring to your attention one of the events that we have planned because it's May Mental Health Month. On the 16th at Wayne Community College, we're having an event it's spearheading the issues of opiate addiction. And we would like to, I'm going to give these to Carol and she'll circulate with you so you can be aware and help us promote this. It will be a documentary and then there will be a panel discussion led by Michael Herring, and we'll have a lot of the players involved in our issues with the opiate epidemic that we're facing. And I think most of you are aware of that. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Peacock.
I have a question for
Mr. Peacock.
Do you all have a relationship with the East Point?
Yes, we do. East Point is in transition.
Yes, I know.
So we try to keep connected, and they'll be a part of our event on the 16th. But they are in transition, and that's making some difficulties with some of our families and individuals in the community getting services.
Do you make any kind of demands from them as far as providing certain needs for Wayne County?
Well, they are the service providers, and we do not provide direct services, but what we do is advocate and try to help them understand and help to be available to bridge the gap, I guess is more what we're doing. We're more into providing information and helping people to understand the issues of mental illness and then trying to link them into services. But we know that whole field has changed in the last 25 years, more definitely in the last 5 years. Whereas you used to could walk into the mental health center and get services immediately. That doesn't happen always now. So we continue to advocate to try to help that situation.
Well, I think when they change, they're getting ready to merge with
Yes, and there will be a larger, that center will be their main office will be in Kannapolis, North Carolina. You know where that is? That's not in North Carolina that we know, is it? So it will be different. And they don't really know all the answers yet either. As I make contact with the individuals involved, they're still working out that process.
Thank you.
So we just have to be diligent. And it is a county issue. It is our citizens that we are concerned about.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peacock. All right, let's get an update on debris clearance grants, and I think we have someone who's going to update us.
Yeah, Ashley Smith is going to update us on that.
Morning, Ashley.
Good morning. Okay, I was asked to come today and just kind of give y'all a brief overview of what the two grants we requested consisted of. My name's Ashley, for any of y'all that don't know, from Soil and Water. And the Disaster Recovery Act of 2016 was passed by the General Assembly in December because of Hurricane Matthew and Tropical Storm Julia and Hermine. This Recovery Act appropriated about $200 million across the state of North Carolina in numerous different relief efforts. We applied for 2 different grants that were targeting stream cleanout from the Disaster Recovery Act, and we received both of those grants. One of the grants that we went for was through the Division of Soil and Water. That's where we get our regular cost share monies from anyway, and they were appropriated some special monies in their partnership. And we received $223,961 from that grant. Another grant that we found out about and applied for was through the Golden Leaf Foundation. They do a lot of different things in disaster recovery and type things, but this is one of their parts. And we requested $237,473 for that, and we received that. So the 2 grants together is $461,434 for stream debris removal. The actual stream clean out itself, the county side will be helping to contract that out and handling that part through the bidding process. And then our office will be in charge of overseeing the project as far as on-site visits, helping secure right-of-ways onto people's lands. Especially on the Division of Soil and Water side, we are the ones held responsible for making sure that what's supposed to be done is done and asking for final inspection before payment can be made. So we'll be doing a lot of hands-on in that process and reporting and things like that to the grant holder so that we can keep that moving. So we'll be reporting to the Division of Soil and Water and the Golden Leaf. These programs that we've asked for, they're bringing money into Wayne County above and beyond what our Soil and Water Department does with our cost share funds. And even though this is going to be quite an additional workload for our Office of Ford, we're really excited about the opportunities and what it's going to do for the people in this county. How can the grant money be used? The Disaster Recovery Act allows for storm debris removal from, like I said, Hurricane Matthew and tropical storms Hermine and Julia. It's a snag and drag program, and we have to follow the Army Corps of Engineers 1992 guidelines on what we can remove. And what that means is only log accumulations that are restricting or obstructing flow can be removed. If there's something way down in the water that's flowing the same way as the stream itself, we're not allowed to go in and take that. I mean, you're looking at blue line streams here, and we have guidelines we have to follow. Also, most of this stuff is going to be doing minimal disturbance to the stream banks. They're not going to be taking lots of heavy equipment in there and disturbing the stream banks. That's not something we're allowed to do. Hand-operated equipment is going to be our first choice for removal. You're going to be looking at winches, chainsaws, small boats that you can pull behind you with equipment. That's the type of thing the contractors are going to be doing, but they're also used to doing that type of thing. And then the debris will be taken from the streams and then placed 15 to 30 feet up the stream bank. It's not something that the grants give you extra money to actually haul off-site. But bear in mind that the majority of the streams are surrounded by vegetation and woodland. It's not like most people's backyard goes right to it. I mean, some people's do, but most don't. The process they're making us go through is the exact same process they used after like Floyd and Fran when the feds came in and did the clean out. The end result, it's going to be hopefully improved flow in these areas and less potential for flooding. It doesn't guarantee us, but at least it gives us a better chance of the water getting to where it needs to get to, down to the noose, and less flooding potential for our citizens. What streams are in our targeted area? When we applied for these grants, we had to show them then photos. Why do you need the money? What areas are you talking about? We had to go ahead and target streams then when we did the application. So Mr. Wood and several other people in the departments in the county all met together to kind of talk about what areas were affected, with Hurricane Matthew, and what would be the good areas for us to request money. So this is just a brief list. I'm going to go into it a little more detail in the maps I'm going to show you in a few minutes. But there is approximately 11 streams that we requested money for. Stony Creek is one of them, but as y'all know, Stony Creek kind of goes in and out of the city limits a lot throughout the county. I talked with Chad LeMasters with the city and told him about the grant, and he's picking up the pieces that fall within the city limits for Stony Creek and taking it pretty much down to the noose. And I know that he received a little over $105,000 toward the part he asked for. And I also know with Bear Creek, and that's a big area for us too, that doesn't really fall into us because they have their own, Jeff Parks is the chairman for the Bear Creek watershed. And so Katie worked with him and he requested money of his own. Since we all each kind of had a cap, it kind of brought more money as a whole into the county. And Bear Creek received about $184,000 for cleaning out Bear Creek. So I'll start with the maps now and just kind of focus on the areas that we're looking at. So this is Stony Creek in the yellow, and it starts at Combs Road. We had some reports of flooding and stuff there, and we bring it all the way down to the 70 highway bypass, and then we pick it up there in the red, and we come all the way to the city limits. And then that's where Chad will be picking up for the city. There's a small area that falls in the city limits. And then in the pink, we pick back up Stony Creek again and go until we hit the city limit sign again. We can go to the next one. And then that's the pink from the bottom of the previous one. And as you see, there's a long stretch there that falls within the city limits of Goldsboro. And then we pick back up in the yellow there. right, and it crosses over Royal. In the yellow, it crosses over Royal Avenue. All right. Then there's another long stretch of Stony Creek that falls back into city limits, and we pick back up in the red at the bottom. It's down near Slocum Street, and we're going to take it all the way to the news from there. So except for like a small part that the city just did like a restoration project on, that they said they've already checked, everything's good. Basically from Combs Road all the way to the news, we're anticipating stream cleanout being done. Now there will be areas that don't need it. I mean, people will go through, if there's nothing there to clean out, then there's nothing there to clean out. But at least it's gonna be looked at so that there is stuff there that it can come. Next slide. Another area is, this is out like Old Smithfield Road and Ferry Bridge Road. They had some reports of flooding out there during, from the hurricane. And this stream is called Half Mile Branch, and it starts up above Old Smithfield Road, almost at the intersection of Lassiter and Old Smithfield, around there. And we'll be taking it from there and coming all the way down to the noose there as well. And then another big area, as y'all know, would be like the Dudley-Grantham area that we're looking at. So in the purple on the far right of the screen, some blue lines are named, some aren't. But we have to give a known destination to a known destination when we were given segments. So we started in Dudley, near the railroad track. There's a church there called First Congregational Church. They had a lot of flooding and damage in that church from the hurricane and the floodwaters. We started at that blue line there, and we carried it all the way to Durham Lake. And then we came from the outlet of Durham Lake, and we carried it in the pink all the way to Thoroughfare, which is the green. And we'll go to the next one. And then the green is still Thoroughfare. And Thoroughfare, if you look at how the streams are coming up here, the green on one side, the yellow other, that is Hood Drive in between. So Thoroughfare crosses over 13 and runs into Fallen Creek. Yellow is the Fallen Creek. There's also a blue line that comes just on the west side of Hood Drive, along with Fallen Creek, as you can see there. Fallen Creek runs all the way to the Neuse. And as far as up there near Beaver Dam Road, I know that talking with planning and stuff, that there was some flooding and things up there as well because of the waters. So we're looking at roughly 21 miles potentially being cleaned out, depending on how the bids come back, between these two grants.
Before you leave about the bids coming back, what group of vendors are you looking at? I mean, who is it that's going to be coming in to do this cleaning?
There's one person that I've talked with. I don't remember the name of this company, but I know that there's different companies that do this. I'm not sure how many bids y'all normally get, because that's not a part we normally deal with.
We want at least 3.
So he'll be looking at least 3 people bidding it out, and then Mr. will decide from there who he wants.
Without me being able to geographically, there's an area that have you done any looking at does the term Lincoln Drive in Dudley ring a bell with you at all?
Not with me, no.
There's a intersection in Dudley, Lincoln Drive and something else, but Lincoln Drive is a street that sort of comes off of a hill, and this is just what I want to describe for a minute. I've been out there different times, and the water is like seeping out of the ground. It's a hill, and it's like it's seeping out of the ground, running down the ditches on each side of the road. And I've always, without me trashing through the woods, I've always wondered what was the primary cause of that. Is it I've always wondered if there was a lake or a stream or an underground stream of some kind that was feeding that area. And I was just curious if you had, if the street Lincoln Drive has just come up in any fashion.
No, Thomas isn't. No. It's not ringing a bell with Thomas either. So.
I have a question. On up at Stony Creek, A lot of the flooding that, my reports that I had from up at Stony Creek was due to beaver dams. Do we have any kind of preventive maintenance that we have in place for?
Yeah, we
beaver dams in Wayne
contract
County?
with wildlife. We pay them $55,000 a year. And so anytime we get reports of a beaver problem, we just turn it over to them. They'll trap the beavers, relocate them, and they can get rid of the dams.
Okay.
And with this grant money, if we come across beavers or beaver dams, they will pay for the removal of them. And we'll be working with Joey with the VMAT program in that.
I'm curious, where do they take the beavers? Been one problem somewhere else.
Well, it depends on what the federal government allows you to do with them, I guess.
Yeah.
I agree with you. These are solve the problem.
My next question is, how did you determine which streams to target?
We had, Mel Powers was involved with this, Chip. The reason for that is I wanted to go after the streams we had the most flooding on.
All right. Is there potential to add, or?
Well, we were limited by the dollar.
I've got a couple.
We were limited by the dollar figure, is what it was. I mean, we may try to go after some more if there's still money available. But if you look at this, if you add up what Bear Creek watershed's getting and the city's getting in this is roughly $750,000 worth of stream clearance for us here in Wayne County. But that's how we approached it, Bill, was trying to look at where were the areas we got hardest hit and had the most flooding, and because we're trying to solve as much of that problem as we possibly can with the dollars we go after. And at the time, we weren't sure we'd get both of these. We're extremely pleased that we were able to get both of these.
John?
Did you say the Department of Engineering would not allow you to take stuff out of the Corps of Engineering, out of the water?
The Corps is, they are very stringent on their rules. We're allowed to take things that are obstructing the flow. But, for example, if a tree falls over and is obstructing flow, we can cut the tree off well above the root head, but we can't, take the stump out if it's not in the water and obstructing flow.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very particular on how we have to do this to stay in compliance with them.
I do want to stress, too, this is the streams that go into the noose. This is not dredging the noose or cleaning out the noose.
No, that is the Corps. The Corps has the only ability to do that. We don't have the jurisdiction on that.
And at some point, we may need to approach the state government and the federal government about that, because there's been a lot of siltation built up in the noose, and that does affect the carrying capacity. And as y'all know, everything that drains Durham County, Wake County, Johnston County has to come through Goldsboro and that bottleneck. So, and you can imagine over the last 17 years since Floyd, how much asphalt, concrete, and rooftops have been built in particularly Durham and Wake County. They've been two of the fastest growing counties in the country. So all of that ends up, going through the watershed and ending up here. So, one of the ways we can try to combat this is we really need to get the river cleaned out. But that's a multi-million-dollar project there.
Well, I think the Corps have forgot about noose because it doesn't look like it's been dredged in 30 years or more.
Right. And you got a lot of sandbars and things like that. So all of that, again, not to beat a dead horse, but that affects carrying capacity.
Will you have? I'm sorry.
I was asked, just great news on the $461,000 up to now, and it's certainly evident that we need some streams and creek cleanups after that low pressure system come through weekend before last. I know Mr. Hardison here from Hood Drive, a 6-inch rainfall, the amount of flooding that happened out there that was unusual, and I've never seen it, and I'm sure the local residents have who I've talked to. But as important, I saw there where the dams can be removed as well, because that's a huge contributing factor. I know last week talking to some locals on the west side about the New Silence, we got Mel and the sheriff got a helicopter up and did some aerial footage and saw a lot of dams that hopefully in the next few days that wants to water kind of slows down from the falls, and we don't inundate Seven Springs and Kinston any further. We take care of some of those dams. And going back to the Neuse River dredging, I don't recall it ever being done. I know there was a study done on it in the late 90s, 97, I think, or so, about some mitigation factors, but everything was always resulting around purchasing property and never creating more reservoirs. So I think that's the approach we need to go as well. I don't know if the Neuse River dredging would be that big of a benefactor or not. You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
Somebody with engineering degrees have to address that. But one question I do have, Ashley, is our neighbors in Lenore and Johnson County following suit with some of these?
Yes, well, Bear Creek actually goes into Lenore for a portion, and the money that Jeff applied for will reach into that sum. And then Lenore, I mean, the soil and waters in the counties around us, I mean, they had the opportunity to request money from the Division of Soil and Water just like we did. When you talked with them, did they say?
Lenore had asked for funding, I think, for about 18 to 25 miles for clean out. And then I also know that in Grant County, they also asked for funding for clean out as well. But the other counties, I'm not sure.
Okay, thank you.
One of the other things that I just kind of wanted to stress for y'all, in the coming months, once we have the bid in and we know who's doing it, it's going to be really, really important if y'all are talking to people in your community that when we start sending out mail for land access right-of-ways, that they respond to us. Without their permission, we have to skip over them. So that could potentially mean if we can't access it from the other side of the stream, that it's being missed altogether. And it's still, you know, causing problems. So it's really important when that time comes and we start doing a mass mailing, that these people respond back to us so that we can enter their land and try to do the best we can.
That was related to the question I was getting ready to ask, because what I was, the lead-in for that was the report that you have right there and the maps. Can that be made available to us? I'd like to have a copy.
Yes.
To go ahead and interact with some of my folk, because I know 2 or 3 of them that would love to see streams, and I was going.
I also have bigger maps. I did like 11 by 17 for the things I showed Mr. Wood and he showed the governor. But for these screens, I had to go down to all landscape. You know, so I have some bigger ones that would show more of the flow of them together that we have scanned that I can send to Carol and she can get to y'all.
Well, let's give them the bigger maps.
Yeah.
That'll help you with the detail and showing them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'd like one of those too, please.
Yeah.
We're gonna get all of you.
Right, all of them need one.
Well, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
well, this may be a good time from 1999 until now to jump on the Corps of Engineers to have them to, due to the recent flooding, to maybe get the Neuse dredge.
You want to be in charge of that? You
Huh?
want to be in charge of that?
I can't hear you.
I said, you want to be in charge of that?
No, Mr. Wood, Mr. Wood take care of it.
Mr. Chair, I did have just,
Mr. Wood's in the chairman.
I only have one concern. If I recall, going back to your earlier presentation, you were speaking that there was a condition that you could take the debris out, but you could not haul it off, and you had to go 30 feet from the stream.
15
Now,
to 30.
15 to 30?
15 to 30.
I mean,
is
they
what
are
pay for.
aware that these floods are going to come right back and in fact go beyond the 30 feet and wash it right back into the stream. I'm not quite
Yes.
understanding why there would be that condition.
Yes, there is potential for that.
Potential.
There is potential for it to come back. But when you take grant money from someone and they say, we're not giving you money to haul it off unless you throw it to the landowner, which no one wants to do that, there's not a lot else you can do. We're just kind of stuck. And I have been told when I asked about it, this is the same way we did it after Floyd and Fran. We're not doing anything different. This is what you can do.
So it
because
all
they want
washed,
it.
yeah, it all washed back in then.
Right.
So let's do it all over again.
Yeah.
Well, some of it will, a lot of it, you know, some of it will decay.
Decay and
Well, I would hope so, but
animal habitat, and that's what they're looking at a
I
lot.
would imagine there's a lot of debris that's in there, whether it's tires or whatever. There's other things that are just going to wash right back in, and I'm not quite understanding, did they not learn from Fran and that you go ahead and have to remove it?
Well, I would like
But
to
that is a
just
condition.
tag along something that Joe seemed we missed. In this capitalistic society we have, it's all dependent upon every year some money being able to be spent for something. So if we look down the road 10 years from now, there'll be a group of people that will be contracted to clean these ditches out again. So that furthers our ability.
Same tires.
Okay.
It's one of those things that you just smile and nod, I guess, because I can't do anything about it, so.
Great presentation.
Well,
Thank you.
it would make sense, but I think they're trying to move the money
And help as many as they can.
Get as much butter.
Thank you.
49 counties affected.
When I saw this on our email or something, I did try to respond with a thank you all. I don't know where it got through or not. I'm never sure whether or not my stuff goes through or not. But this is I can tell you there are some people that I've met with that's going to be happy to see something being done in this.
Well, I just want to give a lot of credit to Ashley and Katie and Thomas, and also working with both Mel and, of course, Chip with the GPS and developing the maps and everything. They did a great job. And we had a very short time frame to do this. I forget what it was, but it was extremely short.
We were applying for Division of Soil and Water Disaster Recovery Program. And we found out on just a whim, on like a Wednesday afternoon, that there was a golden leaf. And I looked at Katie and she said, I'll get started on it. And it was due that Friday. And so we didn't know. We didn't have a lot of time to prepare the way we did for the other one. We were like, there's no way. But we got it. So we were just really happy.
Good job. Good job.
Good job. Thank you.
Okay, moving on. About the UNC Healthcare as a service provider for Wayne County Employee Wellness Program.
Thank you, and good morning, Mr. Chair and Board of Commissioners. And as the board's aware of, our health costs increase this year was over 11%. And one of the ways that we looked at the possibility of keeping our health costs low in the coming years is to reinstitute our wellness program. So this would be a program that would look at preventive and proactive ways to help our employees with good basic individual health information, medical advice, and incentives to stay well. One of the things that staff has done, we sent out 3 requests for qualifications and posted our request for qualifications online for those that were interested to come talk to us about providing this service. The county received 2 proposals, one from Vidant Health out of Greenville and UNC Healthcare, which is Wayne Memorial. A committee of County Manager George Wood, Human Resources Director Geraldine Lee, Ginger Moore from Human Resources, and Purchasing Director Noel Woods and myself met and interviewed both candidates. And at this time, we would like to unanimously recommend UNC Healthcare to provide this service for our employees. In looking at their proposal, we were able to negotiate $35,190 off of their original proposal for an annualized cost of $94,085. We will be using some of the services that we already are offered by Blue Cross and Blue Shield, which is part of our health insurance now, especially the employee health assessment. We negotiated down the risk coach to 30 hours a week, and we'll have HR help with some of the scheduling. And again, we would like to make this as a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners for approval. And we do need to get a final contract that would need to be reviewed by a county attorney. And with that, take any questions.
Any questions? Since I'm the member of the board up here that sits on the hospital board as well, and I'm glad to see that UNC came to the table, I will make the motion to accept the recommendation. So we have a recommendation on the floor. Is there any discussion?
Well, let me just,
okay, go ahead.
Employee X, what are they gonna, how are they gonna see this? What's gonna happen for that person?
We're gonna do an individualized health assessment, and part of that we'll identify risk. And we'll have, that's part of the 30 hours of coaching that we will have, is that once that employee has been identified as a risk, we will have that person meet with the nurse and talk about plans of action and making sure that we're staying on top of the right medication, the right diet, those type of things, that we can be proactive up front instead of not giving the employee, kind of a hand-holding. And that's a lot what we'll do, especially with our high-risk employees. There's a lot of hand-holding. But part of the, as you can see from the list, we will be doing finger pricks. So we'll know, some basic health information, cholesterol, what their sugar rate is, those type things. And we can see if they're pre-diabetic or if they're diabetic. And again, really stay on top of our employees and be an advocate for them in their health care needs. That helps.
Yeah.
I think the diet's probably, what I've learned is probably the worst thing that we all have. And Carol's been trying to take care of ours, but she's not succeeding completely.
But this will also include flu shots as well. And UNC was a little bit cheaper than Blue Cross Blue Shield as well. So
And this is something that we did years ago. And,
Yes, sir.
And it got pulled off before this board was, John might have been.
Is
here.
this,
Yeah.
now, when you say employees, is this our employees out there, or is this us too?
Then you're not included.
We're not included. No, okay, I just wanted to get.
You're not on the county.
No, I just was wondering if that was any kind of a group thing that was proactive. That's all, I'm just. Yeah.
All right, any more discussion? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm not saying that any of the departments fit this mode, but back years ago, especially when I was in the military, we used to have what we call the Fat Boys program. I knew they were going to laugh. But you'll be surprised what that did to cut down on health problems when everybody got down to the proper weight and was healthy.
And that's really what this wellness program is designed to do. There, it's not going to stop somebody who gets cancer, but there are a lot of medical issues that are really related to lifestyle.
Right.
Obesity, and that leads to diabetes and hypertension and all, a lot of those cardiac issues. So that's what it's designed to do, is catch that. And it's amazing how many people, if they don't have regular care, they might be pre-diabetic or even diabetic, and they don't even know it.
That's right.
So they're not taking any medication for it. And so hopefully we'll catch some of those, some hypertension, those types of things, where we can get them on medication, a better diet, and that sort of thing. And long-term, that should save us some money on the healthcare plan.
That's what we're being proactive.
We had to weigh in once a month.
Well, I think John probably reading my mind about that fat boy part of that.
Well,
I'm not calling that yet.
yeah, Mr. Chairman, just to be a little bit sure that we have a maximum participation, let's not call it the fat man.
All right, I'm losing control here.
Mr. Pate, would you also include an appropriate budget amendment
And
in
the
your motion?
appropriate budget
Thank you.
amendment, I'll amend my motion. So the motion is on the floor, and we've already discussed it enough. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir.
Okay, moving on to the motion about the ordinance establishing a capital project fund for the Meadow Lane Edgewood School.
Motion.
Good morning. We are requesting that you approve the capital project ordinance, and this is for the construction of the Meadow Lane with the wing for the Edgewood Community Development School. And right now, we've just got a preliminary budget, but as you know, it is included in our bond package that we are pursuing. And the part that applies to Meadow Lane Elementary is $20 million, so I've got that recorded as our source of income for this project. And then we've got a couple of line items for construction-related expenditures, and we'll kind of get that more specified once we get a defined budget for this project.
Any questions?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Are they ever going to start on this project? I think this was approved last May.
We actually have seen some invoices for the architecture fees. And we did a reimbursement resolution, so we're covered because we have paid those, but we've got a reimbursement resolution to get those back from the bond proceeds. So I do know that part is going on because we've been paying.
Yeah,
the
my
invoices.
understanding from Dr. Dunsmore is it's close to going out for bid.
Okay. It has been. Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we adopt the ordinance establishing a capital project fund for the Meadow Lane Edgewood School project and the appropriate budget amendment.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there any more discussion?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I'd just like to make a comment on the Edgewood Community Development School. Most people don't realize how important this facility is. This is one of the drawing points for Seymour Johnson. It's unfortunate, but you know, all families have children with special needs, and this is a great, one of the better kept secrets of Wayne County. And I mean, we have personnel coming in from Seymour Johnson that request to be transferred to this base just because of this facility, because they do a good job on taking care of those special need kids. And I just, it's really important to Wayne County. Thank you.
Yep, good point. All right. Any more discussion? All right. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chip.
This meeting, we have the Planters Ridge final subdivision plat approval. That's Planters Ridge Phase 4. The owner developer is J&N Developers, and surveyor is Dan Butler. This is located in the Sawston Township, Wayne Memorial Drive. It's lots 58 through 96. You can see the plat up on the display. There is one tract of permanently protected open space area that you see. There is a stream back there with a 50-foot riparian buffer. This is dedicated as open space to offset their stormwater requirements for the state of North Carolina. There is one extension of Planters Ridge Drive, which is an existing street. There's one new cul-de-sac named Stafford Drive and one new cross street named Castaway Drive. Castaway Drive is stubbed out to an adjoining property that is not included in the original preliminary, so they have a paved cul-de-sac located there. If that property is ever developed in the future, that cul-de-sac will come out, the street could be extended. It is located off Wayne Memorial Drive, 600 feet east of its intersection with Artist Road. It is not zoned. The average lot size is 20,626, which is just a little bit less than half an acre. They will use public water and on-site septic. It is within the rural enclave area shown on the Wayne County Growth Strategy Map. Improvements are completed and the NCDOT built to standards letter has been submitted to the county. Until those streets are accepted onto the state secondary road system, the developer has signed a statement on the plat regarding the maintenance of the streets and right-of-way. This subdivision will be serviced by Charles B. Aycock High School, North Wayne Middle, Northeast Primary. It's serviced by East Wayne Sanitary District, Sawston Fire Department, EMS Station 5. It is within the Goldsboro MPO area for transportation planning. It's not within a water supply watershed. There is a voluntary ag district present. There are wetlands present, and it is within Board of Commissioners District 5. The planning board at its last month's meeting approved this plat, recommend to the board to approve the plat as shown.
Are there any questions of Mr. Crumpler? If not, I'll accept the recommendation for approval.
So moved.
Got that motion on the floor. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
And finally, down to the Office of Properties Only Zone with the City of Goldsboro, or property.
Yes, as I mentioned previously, Noel gave you an amended copy. Two of those need to be taken off because they're subject to the 10-day upset bid. So the only one we're asking you to approve today is the property under Hezekiah Jones at 218 Winslow Circle for the offer is $38.90. And as y'all know, when we jointly own this, we split that with the city.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Got a motion on the floor, any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you. County manager's comments.
Got a couple of things. First of all, I want to announce that we have hired a director for the Maxwell Regional Agricultural Convention Center. His name is James B. Wade, Jr. He comes to us from Owensboro, Kentucky. We had a committee made up of 4 people. It was the chairman, myself, the assistant county manager, Craig Honeycutt, and also Geraldine Lee, our HR director. We interviewed, I believe it was 7 people for this position, but Mr. Wade was clearly, in our view, the best qualified, so this is a unanimous recommendation for you. He is experienced in virtually all facets of running convention centers. He's worked in several locations in Kentucky and has about 27, 28 years of experience in this. So he's done everything from hiring the personnel, buying the furnishings, setting up the ticketing operations, scheduling events, marketing the facility. He's got experience in all those areas. So we think we've got a highly qualified person coming in here, and I'm happy to report he'll start on May 15th. So we're ready to go with that. One thing that Craig and I have discussed, and I wanted y'all to be aware of it, is we're kind of splitting the duties here on the Maxwell Regional Agricultural Convention Center. I'm going to continue to be involved working with the architect and the contractor on as far as getting the thing built. Craig is going to work with James, overseeing all of the policies, getting everything started up. We've got quite a few policies to get in place. We've got to have a rate schedule so that we know what we're going to charge for various things. We've been waiting to get, a qualified professional in here to help us with that. And then we'll start the marketing. There's a lot of different policies we've got to get done. We've made some decisions on furnishings, but not all. Some of that we were also waiting on for him. So there's just 100 details they need to work out, get all the policies done. And Craig is going to be working hand in hand with him on that. I'll be somewhat involved, but Craig will be doing the day-to-day. And the idea there is that when it opens in March, they'll be the 2 that'll be in charge of it. So we're very pleased to get him. I think y'all going to be very pleased with him and his background, and we look forward to having him join our team. Does anybody have any questions on that? Okay.
Just a comment, he was, after the interviews, we were lucky to get 3 or 4 that probably could have done the job.
Yeah.
But it was clear he was the top guy.
Yeah.
Out of the group.
The next thing I want to announce, and Ray is the chairman of the DSS board, but I did want to go ahead, if it's all right with you.
Yes, sir.
We have been working for some time with a consulting group to come up with an interim director for DSS, and we have signed those contracts with them, and I'm happy to report that George Earl Merritt, and his last name is spelled M-A-R-E-T-T, he is the retired longtime director of the DSS operation in Johnston County. And we've been able to get him as an interim director to come over here. In addition to his work in Johnston County, and they give him very high marks over there for the job he did there. He also has done an interim stint before in Pitt County for their Department of Social Services, and they thought very highly of the job he did there. And he's also worked some for the Wake County Human Services. So we think he's very qualified. Obviously, he's done this job before, and we look forward to working with him over the next approximately 3 to 4 months while we, this firm also helps us with the recruitment of a permanent director. So, Ray, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Yes, if you don't mind,
Sure,
Mr. Chairman. Like George said, it's a good moment. I'm pleased to announce the same after months and months. First of all, I would like to congratulate our retiring DSS Director Debbie Jones. She faithfully served DSS not only in this county, but in other counties for 25 years. And you have to have, I mentioned this at our church last night, in order to work in Department of Social Services, it's a calling. You have to be called to work. You have to care for people. So I just want to thank Debbie Jones for her 25, and wish her and her family a really long retirement, because she's got some things that she really wants to do. But going back, we did enter two contracts, really. One for, as the county manager, for Mr. Errol Merritt. He started this morning. I was over at DSS this morning. He and I met at 7 o'clock, and at 8 o'clock we had a program managers meeting, and but I can't believe it. There's 3 or 4 of our program managers. Actually, one had worked for him before. So he is familiar with a lot of the personnel in Department of Social Services. But after the meeting and so forth was over, I was able to come. That's why I was late getting here this morning. But Earl is on the job after all these months of hard work on the county's part and the Department of Social Services. And I also wanted to say about the second contract. Not only is it ZecLink, the contract we had, supplying us with an interim manager, but they are also going to recruit on the second contract a permanent manager for us. So that could be 2 months, that could be 3 months, that could be 4 months. So hopefully sooner than later, but we feel like that we're on the right track, and I just want to thank the county in particular, Geraldine and George and others, even the commission board. Commissioner Daughter sits on our DSS board, and of course, never forget our county attorney. I mean, he has really put forth an effort to make this happen. But keep in mind, today's the first day, and the tough work is just beginning. So thank you so much.
The 2 other things I have, one, obviously we are trying to put the budget and capital improvements program together. We'll have that to you towards the end of May. We have met with all of the departments, we've met with all the outside agencies. Now we just got to put the numbers together and see where we're at. And so we'll be finishing that up over the next 2.5, 3 weeks and have that to you shortly. The last thing I wanted to do was to ask Mel Powers to come in, and we wanted to give you an update on this recent flooding that we've had because of the heavy rains up in the Raleigh-Durham area. And as we said previously, talking about the stream cleanup, this is, we get all of that coming down here. So we're still in for about 4 or 5 more days of this. So Mel, if you come up and give them an update, please.
Good morning, Jim. Good morning. So OES staff's been very busy for the last week and a half. Weekend before last, we had 36 hours of constant rainfall. In the county, we averaged anywhere from 2 inches of rainfall in the southern part of the county, as high as 9 and 10 inches in the northern part of the county. What hurt us was Johnston County really got a lot of water, and that hurt us a lot. Just to give you a real quick update, we'll talk about the Little River first. Little River is coming down. It crested in Princeton early last week at 14.3 foot. That doesn't sound like a lot, but that's a record flood for Princeton. Their record on that gauge was 13.9 foot, even during Matthew. So they actually received more water in that Little River Basin in Princeton than they did in Hurricane Matthew. And of course, as you noticed, it follows and comes down Wayne County. As you saw, Caps Bridge went under, and then we lost Claridge Nursery, but now Claridge Nursery is back open. Little River is now drained out, so we should be good on that river. With the Neuse River, we crested Sunday mid-afternoon at the gauge, at about 24.88 foot. So we almost reached the 25-foot mark. Currently, we're at 22.95 feet at the gauge, so we are steadily dropping. We're getting close to about 2 foot that we've dropped at the gauge. We do believe that Seven Springs crested sometime last night. Yesterday, the gauge, we've got a hard gauge at the bridge. It was registering 21.77. This morning at 7:30, it was at 21.72. So we're kind of trying to be optimistic that we have crested overnight in Seven Springs. So the water should start going down. So that's what we're hoping for. Now we'll talk a little bit about Falls Lake. I have been in contact with Tony with the Army Corps of Engineers. They had give us a schedule of what the release was going to be. An update on that schedule is currently they are flowing 4,000 CFS or 4,000 cubic feet per second currently today. Tomorrow they do plan on increasing it to 6,000 cubic feet per second, and that is contingent on what the downstream waters are looking like. I can tell you their plan is to keep everybody under moderate flood stage. For Wayne County, moderate flood stage is 20 foot. So we've got a little less than 3 feet to go so that we're under that moderate. We feel confident that we will be under that moderate flood stage before we start seeing the impact of this waters that are coming out. Now, the Army Corps of Engineers have worked closely with the Southeast River Forecast out of Atlanta, Georgia, running the models. So Atlanta feels confident that once we are impacted by these additional waters, we should not go over 20 foot on the Neuse River. So we're thinking probably Thursday, late Thursday, we'll start seeing the impact of the first release. And then we'll just see a steady level at the Neuse for the next 2 weeks. That's how long they plan on releasing. It's for about 2 weeks.
Anybody got any questions? And we'll continue to email you guys updates on what we see.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you, Bill. Mr. Chairman, that's what I've got.
Okay. Mr. Mayo, since you got started a while ago, you want to finish? You got anything else?
I've just got one. We had a Goldsboro Wayne Transportation meeting last week, and we're still doing great. Fuel prices are still relatively cheap. That's why you're seeing. That's part of why you're seeing this actually showing some profit, but. I was sort of kidding Scott Stevens. 1 month we had the city showed 30 cents profit for 1 month, and it was on the financial statement. I said, why even put it on there? Well, that's the way you report it. But at any rate, we are making changes and adding routes and trying to make sure we service the citizens of Wayne County. And not make it convenient for us, but make it convenient for our citizens. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Well, thank you, Mr. Carter.
Without being specific about any one particular group, this is just a broad statement I'd like to make. I'd just like to say I appreciate all the different boards, committees, and people who are working to make life better for the citizens of Wayne County. It's just amazing the different, when you're reading the reports and the different things that's being done, how people are benefiting, how we are constantly, and this has to do with something that no one can control, and that's the water and the flooding, but it makes the citizens feel comfortable to know that they're getting the reports and that they're being made aware of where there's some flooding at, where the rivers or stream might be preventing buses and things like that from traveling mail. So it's just it's a relief to know that you guys out there watching, and that's for everybody, whether it be facility services or EMS. And I had to share with somebody the other day that, and not speak for the school system, but because I have a long history with them, each time the children maybe given a 2-hour delay, it's one of those safety things. You just don't want to put them out there too early, and people need to sort of understand that there will be inconveniences along the way, but there won't be danger promoted along the way by being careless. But thank you all for what you do.
Mr. Doctor.
I think we heard today on mental health, and I think all of us are somewhat concerned in regards to how the state has consolidated mental health and the delivery of those services. I think we also should be very concerned that they're thinking of doing something very similar to DSS and the delivery of those important services. So I would hope that our legislature would take a real long, serious look at that before they try to consolidate DSS and the delivery of those services. I'm also very pleased with our new interim director. I think we have hit a home run there. It's good to see that we were able to find someone that's got extensive experience to come in and help us as we try to find a new director to come in over the next 3 to 4 months. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Bell.
Met with Wages Board last week. They are getting ready for their yearly work session, hopefully sometime in June. They're doing pretty good, no problems over there. Still getting, what's that fund, that food thing that they do for the seniors?
Meals on Wheels.
Meals on Wheels, still working so far right now. And I'll just like to make a comment about the statement that Mr. Woods made about the wellness program. That is actually a good program. It's going to save the county a lot of money. We may not think so, but it works. I've been through that myself. I think that's about it. The Secretary of East Point have resigned. I don't know what the problem was, but she didn't seem to be too happy in her email, so evidently there's something. So evidently, I'll find out at our next meeting. I think that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Staycock.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just briefly, I think it was on the 19th, our facility director carried me over the quick tour of the Maxwell Convention Center, and I think it's, we've discussed it earlier this morning, it's about time for all of us to go out as a group, because that's an amazing facility out there, and that's going to be the crown jewel of Wayne County. I mean, it's amazing what's going to be in that facility and what's going on out there. And I also attended the ribbon cutting for Deacon Jones' new dealerships, the Nissan and the Ford, and the only reason I mentioned that is the Deacon Jones network or organization. They are employing a lot of people in Wayne County. I mean, we talk industry and bringing business in, and certainly that's a vital part of what we need to do. But you take a company that's a local family-owned company, I mean, they create several hundred jobs right here in Wayne County, and that's a big plus. Also, I had the honor Friday the 28th going out on base to a retirement ceremony for Sergeant Robert Pohl, which lives up in the northwest corner of the county. He's affiliated also with Little River Fire Department. And every time I go to one of these retirements, it's amazing what some of these enlisted people have accomplished in their career in the Air Force. They just mentioned that, for example, he worked in the metal and fabrication on the base, and they were having some issues with the nose gear on the 15Es. I mean, they were nothing real major, but they had a little issue, and it seems like no one could figure out what the problem was. And this sergeant figured out what the problem was and saved the Air Force over $2 million. So it's amazing what we've got right here in our county, and he's planning on staying here too. I mean, we told him he couldn't leave, but we've got some amazing people here in Wayne County, and that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Gurley.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, last week I attended Grantham Grange's 6th Annual Community Service Awards presentation. They recognized 14 individuals or groups for outstanding exemplary service. Had a very good crowd, good turnout. And they announced that this coming November, December, the date's not firm yet, but they'll be celebrating the 150th anniversary of the NC Grange, and that announcement will be coming very soon. And then last week I also attended the NCACC district meeting running rapidly along with Mr. Wood and Commissioner Daugherty and Chairman Pate. And basically, I think everyone's needs are about the same: need for school funds, to mental health issues, opioid concerns, et cetera, But as Commissioner Daugherty said, we do need to stay in contact with our legislators about these concerns we have. But also our strength is through the NCACC. We need to stay connected and support that group. Thank you.
Thank you. And I appreciate your driving the other night. We had to dodge the floods and go around the world to get to Roanoke Rapids. It took us about an extra 20, 30 minutes there and back. But as they've said, we've all got the same problems. We just need to stay in close touch with our legislators, because the gentleman talked about mental health. I think his words were, if you like what's going on in mental health now, you're going to love what they're going to do to DSS. I think that's kind of paraphrasing what he said, but it was funny. But we all have the same problems. And it was a really nice hotel we went to, but it was one of the worst meals I have ever eaten. I don't know where they got that food.
He eats what salt top like that.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, they won't be one of our folks that'll be serving at the convention center. Had the opportunity last week, myself and Mr. Jackson, we both were at our first watch board meeting. We went the other day trying to get acclimated in that. And the day before, I was at the hospital finance board meeting working on the budget, just like we are here but I've spent most of my time in a torture chamber over there at Goldsboro Orthopedic Center stretching my shoulder out. But it really is, I'm kidding, it really is getting well. But talking about the 16th, and because we had discussed about going to over to the convention center and taking a look, but we have an event that's at Langtree at lunch that we are one of the folks who are, so we sort of need to go since we're sponsoring. But I just kind of like, that range that we all go there and have lunch, then we go to the convention center and take a tour, because David Lewis will be back then.
Yeah, and I've talked with David, he'll be more than happy to do that.
Okay. That was that email you got yesterday from Christie, to sign you up, so unless you're gonna be out of town, you go ahead and do that.
One thing I did leave out, Bill, is we will have Craig, Allison, and myself will be going with Davenport. We'll be in New York, I think it's Wednesday and Thursday of next week. We're going to see the two rating agencies on the bonds. So we'll be making presentations to Moody's, Investor Services, and then Standard & Poor's. So hopefully everything will go well there. We spent quite a bit of time yesterday with Davenport going over the presentation. So I think we're ready.
I think the clerk had indicated how important it would be for her to attend that as well.
Yes, she did.
I told them they could take a tape recorder and she can get all the information when they get back.
We have the same request from the purchasing agent.
They can Skype it in.
Might as well include HR too.
I think the chairman should go. No, actually, I ain't lost nothing in New York City. I don't want to go. I can sure keep that. All right, folks. Mr. Pate. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I would just like to piggyback off of what Mr. Aycock just said about the enlisted people in the Air Force. The enlisted people in the Air Force are the brain trust of the Air Force. You can take any officer and put him in charge of 100 enlisted people not knowing anything about the job, and he can get it done if you have those outstanding enlisted people under you. So thank you, Mr. Aycock, for making that comment.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
just for 1 second, or 1 minute. I don't think I heard any of my colleagues here mention the fact we were at Langtree last week to a topics legislative briefing, and I just would like to just share and say to the public, we have some very committed representatives in Raleigh. They have difference of opinions, but then don't we all? But the passion and the thoroughness of how they express their opinions is worthy for the public to try to follow it in the newspaper. That's the only way you can do it. Visit a session if it's possible. But there are specific differences that they hold. Medicaid expansion, of which I have made comments here before. One group see it as questionable and no long-term funding. Another group see it in a fashion of we got to do something because a group of people are being overlooked. John served with wages, and he made reference to the Meals on Wheels, and that is a little bit up for grabs. And that represents folk out there who that might be the only hot meal they get per day. And also, it's sometimes the only visit that they get. So dollar efficiency is good. And guarantees for dollars is good. But for the good of public, we sometimes have to take a chance. So while I truly respect every person's opinion that goes to Raleigh every day and serves us up there, I would want us all to interact with them and share our support for whichever side they pick. But keep in mind that there are folk out here in the world who suffers way beyond what we do. Thanks.
Mr. Chairman, can I make
Yes.
one other comment?
Yes.
Ed reminded me, at that meeting, and I know about 5 or 6 of y'all were there, but I think we ought to mention it. Cindy Whitfield did get the Chamber's inaugural award for the professional, administrative professional of the year, and I just want to say it's well deserved. She did an outstanding job for this county for many years, and personally I want to say that over the 3 some odd years I've been here, she was a tremendous help to me, and we'll certainly miss her.
Yeah.
But that was well deserved. I think we actually kept a secret around here.
That's what I was getting ready to compliment you on.
Which I was amazed at, but she was genuinely surprised. Of course, she was very appreciative of it. And I want to thank Carol for helping put all that together for us.
I agree. I don't think we finished our business this morning in closed session. We need to go back in for.
For the purpose of discussing the location or expansion of industries, to consider in determining the purchase of property, and to consult with the need to preserve the attorney-client.
Okay, is there a motion to go in closed session? Got a motion on the floor. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand.
This has been a presentation by Wayne Goldsboro Television of the meeting of the Wayne County Board of Commissioners. Wayne County Commissioners meet the first and third Tuesday of each month in the Commissioners' Meeting Room on the 4th floor of the Wayne County Courthouse at 224 East Walnut Street in Goldsboro, North Carolina. For more information, the County of Wayne is online at www.waynegov.com. The mailing address is Post Office Box 227, Goldsboro, North Carolina 27533. Thank you for watching.